Welcome to Release to Results, everybody. It's our Course in Miracles series, letting go through the workbook. Today we're looking at lesson 35. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. So we've got all these images of what we are and what's going on with us. And the Course in Miracles is only asking us to let go of all these fantasies that we've been subscribing to, all these beliefs, all these images, let them all go. And it's very gentle in taking us through the releasing of some of these ideas and beliefs and images that we've been putting upon ourselves, putting into the world. The idea is that you believe that you are part of where you think you are. So you surround yourself with these images and then you live from the images as if that's actually what's going on. This is not vision. Images cannot see. So we'll go through some of the things that come up for you, these descriptive terms of how you see yourself. So anything that comes up, any ego based attributes, what some of the suggestions are: I see myself as imposed on. I see myself as depressed. I see myself as failing. I see myself as endangered. But it could also be something seemingly more positive. So I see myself as giving or charitable. I see myself as cared for or caring. All of these things are coming from an ego perspective of imagining at this time. So we're just going to turn that all over. Whatever I see, my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. That's the truth. Coming to vision rather than imagining. So take it and notice what comes up for you with some of these imaginings, some of these images. So if I see myself as imposed on, well, there's likely a feeling there. Like, could I allow that up? And could I be with it, sit with it, and could I let it go? That when I let go of this energy, I'll also be letting go of my perceptions, my imaginings about the situation, coming to release fantasy and be in vision. So follow along as best you can, and let's begin. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. And now, with your eyes closed, allow yourself to search for descriptive terms in which you see yourself. These are very likely other than I am very holy. So anything that comes up, whether it seems negative, whether it seems self inflating or positive, could you just allow these images, these descriptions of yourself that come to mind? And taking one of those descriptions of yourself, could you allow it to be there and notice the energy behind describing yourself that way? Could you allow it up? And could you let it go? Would you let go of this description of yourself, this image? When could you let go of this imagining of what you are? Because my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. My mind is part of God's, I am very holy. And with the eyes closed, just seeing these descriptions of what it seems like you are, likely other than holiness. Though it could be good, seemingly, could be negative, just noticing the situations and the descriptions, the imaginings about yourself. And taking one of these descriptions of yourself that come to mind, could you go behind the description and notice the feeling, the energy that's carried? And could you welcome the feeling, just letting the sounds, the words, the pictures drift by, welcoming this energy to move? And could you release this energy? Would you release this energy, this description, this imagining of what you are? When could you release this fantasy about what you are? Because my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. And my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. My mind is part of God's, I am very holy. And with your eyes closed, just noticing any descriptions of yourself, any imaginings, any fantasies about what you are that's other than simply holy. There may be situations in which it seems like you're bad. There may be situations in which it seems like you're good. Just allowing these situations and the descriptions of yourself that come through your awareness, come through the mind. And without judging or moralizing about what's coming up, could you take one of these descriptions, which you've been putting upon yourself, imagining yourself to be? Anyone's fine. And could you go behind this imagining, this scene in the mind, and notice the feeling that's been carried? Could you open up and allow yourself to feel what this feels like, whatever it is? And could you surrender this energy, this feeling to God? Would you surrender this imagining, this fantasy to God? You never have to. And when could you surrender this description, this imagination, this fantasy about yourself? Because your mind is a part of God's. You are very holy. And just repeating today's idea to yourself, my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. And wow, that seems like a good idea. With your eyes closed, you may find many ego based attributes which you have put upon yourself, imagined yourself to carry, to have, positive or negative. What, how have you been describing yourself in the various situations of your life? What comes to mind as you allow the past to be examined, to be witnessed? And taking one of these thoughts, one of these imaginings about the past, could you notice the ego, how it attributes yourself, what you are, what's said, what's imagined to be your attributes other than holy? And that's okay. Without making good or bad of what's come up for you, could you go behind this description, this ego based description of yourself, and allow yourself to acknowledge and feel a feeling? Could you ignore the thinking, the imagining, and just be aware of and feeling a feeling, just a feeling? And could you let it go? Would you let go of this fantasy, this illusion about yourself? When could you let go of seeming to have this attribute, this imagination about you? Because your mind is a part of God's. You are very holy. Could you allow the idea of the day through your awareness? My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. And that's a nice idea, though you may find other things than your holiness come through your mind with your eyes closed, just allowing what comes up, the situations you've been in, and what you seem to be in those situations. And could you just allow these imaginings, these fantasies to flow, what it seems like you are, what you've been imagining? And whether it seems positive or negative, take any one of these imaginings, any one of these thoughts about what you are in the situation you were in. And could you go behind the scene, the words, the images, and notice any energy, any feeling? What's been carried? Could you open up to that energy? Just some energy, just been stuck or sitting there. Could you unstick it, unseat it, just by feeling it, just for now? And could you release this energy? You're always welcome to hold it. Power forces you to do nothing. Just could you release it? Would you release it if you could? This fantasy, this imagination about what you are. When could you release any old accumulated energy and the imaginings that go along with it about what you are? Just a chance to release the past imaginings now. Though there's no rush, takes what it takes. Because my mind is a part of God's, I am very holy. Just letting the idea of the day come through your awareness. My mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. Though the ego might disagree, could you notice how have you been holding yourself, describing yourself, imagining yourself to be? Could you allow the situations and how you've seemed to be in them to come through your awareness, come through your mind, your thoughts? Just witnessing, it's okay. Not making right or wrong, just unattached from what's passing through the mind, the thinking, just watching. And any of these thoughts, any of these imaginings will do just fine. Could you take one of them and just allow yourself to focus on it for a moment? This thought about what you are or who you are in this situation. And could you let the thoughts drift by as you notice the feeling, frequency, energy behind such an imagining? Could you open to any stuck, stored, or carried energy behind such an imagining and just feel it? Notice it. Nothing to do, change, describe, just a feeling. Could you sit with it for a moment, feeling it? And could you surrender this feeling and its associated fantasies to God? Would you surrender this energy and the illusions that go with it to God? When could you surrender this energy and the imaginings on that frequency to power, to God? Because you've had these fantasies, but your mind is a part of God's. You are very holy. My mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. And as you find yourself imagining anything else as you go through the day, that's okay. Could you notice the fantasies and the illusions that arise for you and just release this energy behind them? Just continue to let them go and remind yourself of the idea of the day. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Thanks for being here and thanks for going through the Course in Miracles with us. We do a lot more releasing than just these sessions here on YouTube. We've got tons of open topic sessions. You can bring up anything other than your holiness, and I'd be happy to facilitate a release at releasetoresults.com. We have 100 live sessions every month. We have tons of replays, over 140 at this point, available to you in our community of people who are dedicated to releasing anything other than their holiness. Plus, I'll send you 3 books that we use in our mastery sessions, which happen 4 times a week. Letting Go of the Pathway of Surrender, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, both of those by Dr. David R. Hawkins, the Sedona mystic, and The Sedona Method by Hale Dwoskin, Lester Levinson, another Sedona mystic's protege. Get all this for free for 14 days, the free books, the free sessions, the replays at releasetoresults.com. Unlock greater happiness and freedom. Where would you like greater happiness and freedom? What results would you choose? Well, I'm happy to help you, support you in releasing anything other than that. Forward to seeing you in more of these live sessions and have the best day you can.